Chairman, we are live.
Good morning, everyone. It's April 28th, 2021. This is Chauncey Goss. I'm chairman of the South Florida Water Management District Governing Board, and the District Governing Board is pleased to present today's Lunch and Learn with an introduction to DB Hydro Insights. As part of our ongoing effort to improve transparency and public engagement, our information technology team developed DB Hydro Insights to help the public and stakeholders easily access data from our systems. Millions of data points are collected by the Water Management District each year, and it's a priority for our agency to help the public have real-time access to the data used by our scientists and water managers each day. While this is a governing board lunch and learn, today's meeting is intended to inform both the board and the public on some of the functionality of this new tool. As a reminder for the board, today's lunch and learn is informative, and we will not be taking any action or votes. At the end of the presentation, the board will also take public comment for the record. Staff will call your name to speak, and if you're participating via phone, *6 mutes and unmutes, and *9 raises your hand. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone that our lunch and learn sessions have a 1 o'clock hard stop. So now I'll turn it over to Dwayne Piper, who's the Chief Information Officer for the district.
Hello, thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman Goss and governing board members. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about our DB Hydro Insights data analysis tool. I'd also like to especially welcome the members of the public and the various stakeholders that are able to join us today for this lunch and learn session. Again, my name is Dwayne Piper. I'm the Division Director representing Information Technology here at the South Florida Water Management District. I'm joined also by my colleague, Stuart Van Horn, the Water Quality Bureau Chief. Together, we have partnered on making this tool available to a vast array of concerned stakeholders. I also have available, if the need arises, with questions for the board members. We have Lakendra Matoli on the line, who is our head of software applications, and Brian Smith, who is one of our principal software developers. So between the four of us, we're sure that we could answer any of the board questions today. Now, I've been hearing feedback from the board's desire to have more transparency. And so with that direction and support, I'm very pleased to announce the release of our new business intelligence and data analysis tool called DB Hydro Insights. So it's live now and it's available to the public to use. Insights completely modernizes the access to the district's hydrologic and water quality database, known to many of you as DB Hydro. So I'd like to briefly share with you how we got here today. Let's take a brief look at our timeline. As you may recall, back in December, we opened up access to this tool to a limited group that we call beta testers. So some 89 folks registered with that program. These are volunteers from the public that gave us feedback as to the utility or the ease of use of this tool to access the district's data. And so now that we've incorporated some of that feedback from the public and we've resolved some of the performance concerns with the tool, we're able to release it fully, which brings us to today, April 2021. You could navigate now to the link www.sfwmd.gov/dbhydroinsights, and that would take you right into our tool. We've eliminated, in fact, the need for a username and password just to make access that much easier. Looking at the bottom of our timeline, more towards the summer, we have plans of introducing some training videos. Now, this may be similar to the training we had in the past, but our intent is really to start off with videos, and then, if necessary, we can establish more formal training sessions as required. As far as new features are concerned, we see this happening based on your feedback. Just like the apps on your smartphone or tablet, we will be bringing new features forward in the form of updates that really bring new value to our users. Only this will happen automatically on our website, and you won't have anything to do on your end. So what is DB Hydro Insights all about, and why did we develop this tool? Well, it's all about the data. The district has monitored water levels, stage, and pump activity for some 70 years. This map shows over 1,200 active hydrological monitoring sites, and 300 weather sites that we have today. These sites capture data that goes from the field to our control room for real-time decision-making and right into our database, where we provide provisional data, which is data as we receive it. And also, once it's quality checked, then it becomes part of our historical record. Today, we have 3.5 billion records in this database for DB Hydro for hydrologic records, and over 1 billion records for rainfall. That's, as you can see clearly, a vast database that we have access to at the district. This map here shows some 1,459 water quality monitoring sites that we have throughout the district. This data is quality assured through Stuart Van Horn's team in the lab at the Field Operations Center in West Palm Beach. And to date, we have 8.5 million records that are QA'd and QC'd in our database. And so we've amassed a large database over the year, clearly with millions, even billions of records, even some values that are collected from the district, collected from other agencies, some that come through satellite feeds, and other that are manual readings. And so, and with that data, we also calculate values such as flow data. So as you can imagine, access to this treasure trove of data is of interest to all. And so the data that we're accessing via DB Hydro Insights is the very same data that the district uses day to day. There's no difference. I'd like to briefly describe how we progressed since the 90s. We have provided access to this data before, but as you can see, it was in a limited format. It was modern for the time, but looking at it today, we wouldn't want to use that interface. It reminds me of maybe our first video games, maybe in an Atari or something. But we progressed from there. In about 2003, 2004, we migrated to a modern browser-based interface, and that was quite innovative at the time. However, it still had some inherent challenges. For example, you had to be very specific about what you're looking for. You would need to know the structure name or the site name. You'd really have to know specific things about the district and the data you're collecting. So although that was really good and we provided it to the public, we also provided training programs where people would come in and really learn how to get into this tool and pull the data out. And really, if they wanted to get a complete picture of what was going on, they had to stitch the data together themselves. We basically had a tool that would provide a data access and provide a data dump, but the end users would have to put it together. And so for advanced users in our training classes, we shared with them what I call our Coca-Cola secret formula, but it's our DB key or database key. And that's how you're able to link the data together. Now, exposing that DB key really helped some of our expert users, but it also provided additional complexity for our more casual users. So that got us thinking, what if we could make those connections between our systems ahead of time? Then instead of users spending their valuable time linking our data together, the user community instead could spend their time on the analysis of the data, which is why they wanted it in the first place, instead of trying to just link it all together. So we felt by curating the data ahead of time, thereby we would be providing insights into our data. And so that brings us to today. This is our interface. It's still web-based, browser-based, which is still a modern tool. And here's how our interface looks. We call it DB Hydro Insights. And of course, the reason we call it Insights, it's a build on to our DB Hydro database. But because we've done most of the heavy lifting for you, we've eliminated the need to be an expert on things like our naming conventions, our DB key, and our database in general, DB Hydro. You just don't have to be an expert anymore. Instead, we provide a map-based user interface that makes it easier for all of the stakeholders to consume our data. So as you can see here, our main part of our interface are these tiles. So we have tiles such as sites, structures, stormwater treatment areas, watersheds, and data. And we have the opportunity to put additional tiles where they make sense for people, such as a system tile or a projects tile. And we could develop that and provide it in the future using the same format. The second exciting thing from the tile access is the map access, and we'll see that in a few minutes. But by providing the search mechanism by a map, it just makes it easier to find the area that you're interested in. You can do a selection, which we'll show you, and it'll show the sites or structures in the area, and it'll pop up with the names, so you don't have to remember the names. And but also, if you happen to know the specific site or structure you're interested in, we can type that in at the search mechanism as well. So we think we're really going to enjoy using this tool. More importantly, we think you're going to find what you're looking for. So let's watch a video clip. It's 7 minutes about this tool, and it's going to give you a real basis for what we are trying to achieve with this tool and some of its primary functionality. Then after that, I'm going to do a live demo, and we're going to dive into a handful of sites, 3 or 4 sites, and we'll look at some live data together. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
We believe that just like Lake Okeechobee is an integral part of living in Florida, from the enjoyment of recreation use down to its critical function in Florida's ecosystem, that access to the district's data lake is just as impactful by putting it into everyone's hands. And we think we've done that with our DB Hydro Insights data analysis tool. Come on, let's take a closer look at Insights. Let's say you're interested in viewing the district's data, but you don't know the names of our structures or sites. For example, you think, I want to see what's going on around the lake. I heard the district recently launched a buoy in the middle of Lake Okeechobee somewhere, but I don't even know where that is. Well, let's open up DB Hydro Insights and see if we can find that buoy. Notice the beautiful map of Florida that appears. Using the search icon on the bottom of the map, we can select shape. This allows us to draw a shape around the area we are interested in this case, somewhere in the middle of the lake. So I know it's somewhere in the middle of the lake, right about here. The shape on the map allows us to identify the site you're interested in, and it is LZ40. Now we can view detailed data. Here we can see current rainfall and the historical average for that day. Scrolling down, we can see additional water quality data. And here we curate this information together with rainfall data into this chart. From here you can do a lot of analysis work, all starting from that one area on the map. For example, before the district deployed the buoy, we had point data collected periodically. You can see that here on the chart. But now as you get to the end of the chart, you can see that we've started continuous monitoring. And of course we have the data here to show. We'll see more of this powerful charting feature later. So the mapping feature of DB Hydro Insights is very powerful. But let's say you already do know the structure name that you're interested in. What you really want is to download the data. Do you need to know the DB key? No, not at all. Let's take a closer look at the Get Data feature that we call the data lens in DB Hydro Insights. So here's the DB Hydro Insights homepage once again. We're going to click this time on the structure icon and we see the map appears. But since we know the structure name, let's say G370, we can type that right into the search bar. Now we see even more detail emerges as the map automatically zooms into the area of interest. In fact, notice the directional arrows at each structure. At this point, we want more specific details. So after selecting View Details, we really get into the nitty-gritty about the site. We see that it has 3 pumps. In fact, one pump is running now at 720 RPM. And we can even view more pump detail using this tool. Scrolling down and looking to the right, we can see this area is chock full of information that is curated specifically to the site you selected. Here you can see flow information, the operational ranges, and the historic average, and even a sample of the water quality data. Let's keep scrolling down, though, to look closer at our data feature. Here, we can look at current parameter conditions and monitored parameters. We get to see here the full power of one parameter in our Insights tool as we curate relevant data for you and bring it into a consolidated chart. This chart is the same feature we've already seen. No DB key is necessary. One parameter has done it all for you. Here you can view water quality or hydrologic data. We really think you're going to love this charting feature in Insights, and many people are going to use it online to do their analysis. Still, other users want to get at that data. Well, we've listened and provided the Get Data tab as well. By selecting the sites or stations of interest, you can fine-tune that and even save it to your favorites. Then you further define the data type you want, such as stage, with the frequency, either daily value or breakpoint or instantaneous. Then you finalize the date range of interest and the format you would like the data in. And we curate that data according to your selections. Look how the resulting file opens up in Excel, which is a very popular way that our users want to get their copy of our data. We find this tool is very powerful, and we think you're going to love it. We think data scientists out there are really going to love the Get Data feature in our Insights data lens. And that's DB Hydro Insights powered by one parameter. We think you're really going to enjoy using this tool to unlock the story that's contained in the vast amounts of data available here at the South Florida Water Management District. So that's DB Hydro Insights, a map-based analysis tool you can use to gain access to the vast amounts of hydrologic and water quality data we have here at the district. By using business intelligence against this vast, big data lake, we have linked data sets together for you. Yes, the story of South Florida's ecosystem is captured in this data. With this new tool, you can free the data to tell its story. Oh, and there's one more thing. Since DB Hydro Insights is HTML5 compliant, it will work across all your digital platforms, including your mobile devices. We know you're going to enjoy using Insights on the go. Thank you.
Okay, so that was an intro to Insights. Now I'd like to do a live demo, and you can follow along with me. I plan on doing 3 or 4 structures for demonstration purposes. So although this isn't intended to be a full tutorial, I'll try to slow down and show you exactly how I'm navigating the tool. And then later today, I encourage you to use your own computer to access our website and see if you can find the data you're looking for. And please take advantage of the Ask Us button on our main webpage. You can use that to communicate with us and get detailed questions back to us, and we'd really appreciate that. Now let's just select this link and bring up the DB Hydro Insights tool. Okay, so the first thing we'd like to do is select this structure tile here, and that should bring up a map for us. And the map appears and the search function appears. Now this by default is selecting by value. And so if we knew the structure name, we would type it right in there. However, we're not going to do that yet. What we're going to do instead is select the shape and then pick this square shape feature so we can draw on this map. And if we're looking for something over by, let's say, Point Mayaca Lock, we would look around here, around the county line, and just draw a shape around there. And now we see the sites, or the structures rather, that come up in this area, and we know we're interested in S308. So when this resulting search set comes up here, I'm just going to select S308 and hit View Details. So now at this particular site, as we see it load here, in the top here, we see it's made up of 4 gates, right? And they're currently closed. They're at 0 feet. So that's good information for us to have. Then on this part of the map to the right is no flow, but it's telling us the upstream and downstream as indicated by these arrows here. And it gives you a sampling of the data that's collected there. That's just a quick view. And here's a charting feature now, and we're going to get a little bit into detail here. So one of the things from the feedback, if you noticed in the video, this was all one chart, but based on the feedback, you see these separations of the charts. That made it easier for our users to understand the data they're looking at. So we separated those into individual charts and stacked them on each other. And here we're plotting just some key parameters: stage, headwater, tailwater, flow, and some water quality data. Now, if we wanted to see more, we'll notice what we're doing right now is we're looking at the key parameters because that little blue line that's under there. But I'm going to select next to it all parameters. And when I select all parameters, now this gives us a much larger list. And you can see what's good here is it tells you the parameter and it tells you the date range of data that we have in our database, and it tells you the sample count. So you know that, if there's not a large sample, you may not be interested in it. It may be something we were monitoring for a time and then we stopped monitoring for some reason, or we may have went from a manual reading to a continuous reading, and that would show up as well. So this gives you an idea of, wow, there's a lot more data in the database I could select from, more than just the data that we charted for you. So then you would select Get Data here in the center. And this is where you are wanting to look at the data either in a chart or in an Excel spreadsheet. We'll just look at it in a chart. But if you, and here's a little trick I learned from our team. If you click on the end date, it's going to sort those, right? So now you've got it sorted in descending order from today, yesterday's date rather. And you can really see now, these are the top parameters I probably want to select. And if you go over here, you can see that the structure is selected. And so if I just checked on these few boxes here, and I could say, if I wanted in this area here, if I wanted a Excel spreadsheet, I'd do CVS format. But in this case, I just want a graph, a simple graph, and I want the past month, and then I get the data. And so then we plot that data that you asked for, and it's that simple. Really powerful, really easy to access. There's a lot of options, so it could be confusing, but when you start using the tool and you start looking at some of the basic functionality, you will get directly to what you're looking for. And of course, if there's any feedback, again, we'd love to hear feedback and how we can make it more simple. So now I want to go back home, and there's several ways to go back home. So you can always click up here and that'll take you back. Or there's this menu here, it's called a hamburger menu. And so if you select here, you can go home, you can go to our discharge calculator, you can go directly to sites, structures, and so forth. So this brings you directly, as well as this. And I usually just click that because it's easier to, and it brings you right back here. So now let's go look at another site. And let's type the site in, because I happen to know that the Moorhaven Lock site is S77. So actually structure. So S77. And the other thing, I'm going to go back for a second by one character, right? Because if you don't exactly know, you see we pre-populate this list. So you can get a list of the structures and then select the one you want. But I know it's S77, so I'll select that. And then we'll select search. It finds it. And we'll spend a minute on this screen as well. Because it does give you additional information, and it's really zoomed in on the map. But what you can do is you can go over here to the left, and you can use the map controls, and you can zoom out, and it'll redraw the map. So you say, well, yeah, I'm not sure where it is. It's too close in. I want to zoom out on the map, orient myself to where it is. Okay, now I see East Caloosahatchee down here at the bottom. So now I know where it is, Lake Okeechobee to the right. That makes sense to me. That's what I'm looking for. And then you click on View Details. And this is, as well, has 4 gates. You can see the outer 2 are closed and the inner 2 are opened at 2.5 feet. And so that's information there as well. That's valuable. Same thing, we're not going to go too detailed into here, but I'll show you some different features on the graphs. You can get more data, as I showed before, but also on this graph, as you hover the mouse over in time, so time is across the bottom, you can see the points come up, and you can really look at the detail value of the points. As you pull more and more data, or you want to get, let's say you had a chart that was really busy and you wanted to clear it up and make it look a little better, there's these little features down at the bottom where you can make the time frame smaller, and thus that makes the graph larger and easier to see. And then you can select that point right there, and you can drag that back and forth in time. So you can see, really, if you're looking for something that happened to correlate a date and time, there's really powerful features that help you do this right on the screen. So we're going to go back up here for a minute, and we're going to go to the menu this time and just go home. And see, it just brings you right back home. Have another site, a structure that flows out of Lake Okeechobee to the south. But let's use the mapping feature to find it. So again, I'm going to come over here, and instead of searching by value, I'm going to click by shape and select the shape I want to use. And I'm going to draw around there, and you see the structures populate, right? So now this is interesting because our structures are blue, and then other monitoring sites are red. So as we as we get into advanced features, we can look at the bottom at this layers for the map management. And we can actually turn off active structures. We could turn off drainage areas. We could turn off sites. And that would clarify, okay, we're just looking at structures now. And that's just one way of navigating the map and looking really to refine what you're looking for right here on this page. But I happen to know we want site S352, and that's here. So I would select view details as before. And this site is a lot different than some of the others we looked at. This has 2 gates and they're open a little bit below a foot, and it has 4 pumps, and those pumps are not pumping. So that section up in the top gives you a lot of information. Again, today's historical average. So the upstream is 14.13. Here's the historical average for that day. As a comparison or as an analysis. Water is actually flowing because you can see 519 CFS and no rainfall in the last 72 hours. So that's just some interesting information that you get right away without making any secondary queries in our database. Again, as we look at this tool, there's key parameters that we can only put so much on a page that kind of makes sense to look at. And if we put everything, it would be very busy. But as you could see from before, if you select all parameters, then you'll start to see what we really have available in our database. And then you go into get data. And again, you can graph it or you can export it to Excel and really see everything that's in our database. There's something else interesting that I wanted to show. And I think if we go to the STA, so we go to the next tile, the STA, and we're going to start typing because they'll all fill in at this point because they begin with STA, but we could go to STA 1 West, right? And search. And really we see the design of the STA at this point, but if we look at view details, we present the information a little bit differently. This is a map of just the STA. We've taken away everything else that could add to confusion when viewing it. And now we can see the construction or the definition of the cells. And so now, if we look at the top, we see flowways. So this is information here, detailed information on the flowways, as well as the distribution. So you can see the quantity there, and we can see the detailed description. So we go into our database, we know that this is an STA and it's different, and we pull up this data and present it in this format because it's more meaningful when you're looking at an STA. Then I have one more to look at today. If we look into watersheds, and certainly everyone wants to look at Lake Okeechobee. So if you, again, if you start typing lake, we pre-populate this with information from our database, and we know Lake Okeechobee. So we can do a search, and of course, there it is on the map. Same map features, we can zoom in, zoom out. We could turn layers on and off. But here we're going to view details, and the presentation of this layer is a little bit different now, where we're trying to relay, the inflow, the stage, the outflow. And this is one of our newer features that we're still working on, but we see that as the district creates work products, and things that staff do internally, and it takes time to do, but it's a repeatable process. We're going to capture it in this tool so that we don't have to ask staff each time to do a calculation or create a work product. We're just going to have it created automatically with the tool. So this is our direction and what we intend on doing. And so again, we plot here some common data that people are interested in that would like to see. But what's interesting about this one, again, if you look across the top where it says structures, we say, wow, there's 65 structures in Lake Okeechobee. So we select that tab, and now we have, as you can see here, the different values at S127. It's a pump, and we're collecting this data here, and then goes to S129. So there's actually 65 structures at this watershed. And here's data for each one of them within the Lake Okeechobee watershed. So this is the structure of our tool. We think it's really powerful. You don't have to know different systems that we have internal to the district. We're able to go out and get that data. Most of it comes from DB Hydro. Some ancillary information comes from other systems, and we're able to put it together and give this view of our database. So I think it's going to be really powerful tool. So I'll close that out. And that completes the live demo. And I'd like to ask, or point out rather, that our main website, sfwmd.gov/dbhydro, will tell you all sorts of things about the DB Hydro database. So there's multiple links there. There's the original tool, the DB Hydro data browser, and then there's the new tool, DB Hydro Insights. There's also a sign up on there for notifications. So we're using a notification tool that will only send you notifications for what you're interested in. So when you select that and you enter your email address, it'll give you a lot of check boxes to check the things you're interested in. One of those things could be DB Hydro. One of them could be general district news, and so on. So you really want to get into that website, look for the sign up for notifications, and sign up for things that you're interested in. And that way the district will be able to keep in communication with you. Now, direct access to this tool is through sfwmd.gov/dbhydroinsights. And that, again, as I mentioned earlier, we removed the need for username password. We wanted to make it open and available, following a transparency lead that we're doing here at the district. And so we think that's just an excellent way to bookmark that link and go straight into the tool. Then again, on our main website, you'll see that Ask Us button. You can always select that to get in touch with us, enter your comments there. The group that reads those emails every day, even live as this meeting's going on, they'll route that right away to IT or wherever the question needs to head. So with that, I thank you again for your time. I really appreciate you taking your time out of the day to hear and see this new tool that we have here at the South Florida Water Management District. I would turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you very much, Dwayne. That's incredible. What a powerful tool, and the fact it's user-friendly and anyone can use it is really wonderful. And I think it's taxpayer money very well spent. We have a lot of data there, and it's going to be incredibly useful to folks. I'm going to go now to board discussion, and I see Ms. Thurlow-Lipich, your hand is up, and I recognize you.
Thank you, Chair Goss. That was a great presentation, Dwayne. It seems like you're a natural on TV. You could start a program teaching people. Very, very good. I'm sitting next to my personal computer, and then I have my laptop that I'm doing this lunch and learn on. I went on to DB Hydro Insights, and I looked up S308 by just going to the structure, whatever it is, and the icon. And when I pulled it up, there's in blue, it says view details. So I hit the view details button, And believe it or not, when you pull it up, the image shows visible blue-green algae off of S308. So unless I'm mistaken, and I don't think I am, it's like looking at a satellite image or something. So I was wondering if maybe a side effect or a side advantage of your program is that the visuals are in real time, or they're satellite, or is this just a coincidence? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually noticed that as well when I was preparing for this. And it is a coincidence where we got that image and stored it for that location. I'm not sure exactly how far behind it is. Brian Smith is our enterprise principal developer. He's on the line. Brian, as far as the base maps and how we're integrating with ESRI, do you know right away the time that those images are taken? And if not, Ms. Thorolipish, we'll find that out and get back to you.
Okay, and just by the way, that would be a great service to the people of Florida, to have part of this program be that you could see one day, I know, can't do it right now, but one day we will, in real time, or yesterday, or the day before, where was the blue-green algae? That is important information for people as they live their lives. And I was very excited to see it. Thank you.
Let's see, Colonel Roman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Dwayne, for the excellent presentation. The whole team's to be commended on the work that you've done to pull this together. I have a question regarding a type of clipboard feature to this program. Look, if I was doing research on a particular watershed or an area, and I wanted to snip certain elements of data and compile it into a report, is there a way to do that?
Not today, but I get what you want to do. What we can do today is we can save favorites so that they're easy to get to. And I think what you're referring to is more of a research tool. As I search things, I want to start putting them on a clipboard and compiling them together. And that makes a lot of sense. So I'll take that back and we'll toss it around among the developers and see if that's something we could do. I know ultimately we could do it. I guess the question is, could we do it sooner, or would it be a little bit later that we're able to implement that? But I get what you're asking.
Yeah, I could see it as being very helpful if you wanted to look at more than just one structure or one data point. So just take that back and see what you think, and see what the users feel like it would be, whether it be helpful or not. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sure thing.
Thanks. Are there any other board members who have comments or questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Bergeron.
Yeah. Well, first I want to compliment our staff. Great presentation. It's amazing technology and the information that we can monitor the compatible water levels that are flowing in multiple directions. Do you have the same database in the southern part of the system that would indicate the inflows that come into the Central Everglades and the outflows that are going through the Tamiami Trail onto Florida Bay? So do we have the information that would show inflows and outflows and all the structures along the Tamiami Trail, where we can see the water levels on the north side of the Tamiami Trail, as well as the south side, and be able to see these levels and where they are compatible with the environment, and are our discharges equal to our inflows? Do we have a database in the southern system, sort of like what you're showing us around Lake Okeechobee?
Yes, I think I understand you. Thank you for that question. So we are going to create what's called a system lens, which we have not done yet. And that is exactly what you're describing. The next level up is to take all this data and make heads or tails out of it, right? So what that means is the environmental scientists and things, the district staff and some external consultants, they really know our structures really well, and they can pull the data and do that analysis. What we want to do for the public is pull all that together ahead of time. And that's some of the work products that I'm talking about, where staff take time, whether it's 1 week to 3 weeks to develop a work product. We want to just develop it and put it on the website so you can just click on it. So no, we don't have it today. That's something that we intend to do. And I'll give you a good example. I think Jill is emailing out a graphic with that type of information. And it takes staff a lot of time to prepare that graphic. And so if we can duplicate it and automate it, then you'll be able to click on it. So we're taking notes of all the feedback, and that was a good one. And we'll take notes on how we can. It's not if we can do it, Mr. Bergeron, it's when. And I will keep you posted as to a schedule when we could develop something like that.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think that's a great tool, because then you can see compatible water levels, whether we're above schedule, below schedule. You actually can see if in an average rain year, if 1,500,000 acre feet of water is flowing south, is it getting matched in the outflows onto Florida Bay, where you have equalization of water levels across the global system with shared adversity and shared impacts through a global system. And this technology is amazing, and it would certainly help the board and all of our staff to be able to manage water levels and know when we're in trouble much quicker than. So I'm really amazed with all this technology that can help us manage the system compatible with the environment. So thank you for your presentation. And then one other thing, how soon would you have the same type of information down in the southern part of the system as we're trying to continue to move water south? Is there any timeline on that?
Right. So we're looking at next fiscal year for the system lens. The finishing of this fiscal year, there's some additional functionality that we had our old tool, right? We were modernizing our old tool, the DB Hydro data browser. And we feel that we should make sure all the functionality exists in this tool before we turn off the old tool. So that was our focus for the rest of this fiscal year. However, having said that, IT works in an agile manner, and we're going to get in a room and talk about these different ideas. And if we can bring that to you a lot sooner, we'll produce, or via email through Drew, we'll produce a schedule when we can do that. But our current intent was to tackle the system lens next fiscal year.
Okay, well, that's a great timing, because modified water delivery stage 1, as we remove the barriers that's stopping water from flowing south. All of these barriers we hope to remove in the next year. And then we can match our inflows with our outflows and use this technology to see where we're at. So I think that's a great, I'm excited about seeing that technology on the southern end of the system as well. And thank all of you for this presentation. Very, very informative. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bergeron. Are there any other comments or questions by board members?
I have a quick question, Chair. This is Cheryl Meads.
Yeah, go ahead, Cheryl.
Dwayne, can you do me, I'm blown away by this. I'm so excited about this. It's an amazing tool. Could you do me a favor? And I don't know if you can do this or not. Maybe you can talk me through it. But, you know, we always start with where we sit or what we know. I clicked on the Florida Keys and pulled up the data on the Keys. And I'm curious about where the water area comes from, 230,000 acres, because is it when I look over to the other side of the screen, it lists all of the water, you know, Grouper Creek and Little Blackwater Sound, and it also has Florida Bay. So, but I don't understand how it adds up to 230,000. My other question, not that it really matters, I'm just trying to figure out how to use it. And then land use as of 2015. So when would that be updated again? Would that be updated in a year, or how frequently?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm actually looking on it now, and I'm not quite there yet because I'm seeing 640,000 acres. So I've got to get where you're at, and I'll look at that. But these maps, the interesting thing of these maps is they're coming from our central GIS database, and it's the way they're defined for all the other tools in the district. So I'm going to have to find out how that particular one's defined and get back to you and let you know the frequency of the update. But the reason we did it that way is so that if we had a system of record, you know, right or wrong, the way we're viewing it, but if it is our system of record, that's what we used in this tool so that there could be consistency. So I took a note, and I would like to be able to get back to you on how that 230,000 number is comprised of, and then the frequency of which it could be updated.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other board members who have questions or comments? All right, seeing no more hands raised and hearing none, we'll go over to public comment.
Chairman, I have no hands raised yet.
Okay, well, if there's anyone from the public who'd like to comment, now's the time. And to the public who has been helping with this, thank you very much for your comments. I know Mr. Piper's been able to take them and incorporate them. You have no comments, Rosie?
Chairman, there's no hands raised yet.
Mr. Chair, it doesn't look like we're going to have any comments today.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for putting this together. I thought it was a brilliant presentation. Dwayne, thanks for making it simple so that we can understand it, so I can understand it. And as I said, it's an incredibly powerful tool, and I'm excited that the district has it, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to use it, and our stakeholders are going to be able to use it. And if there's no further public comment, and if there's no further board discussion, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thanks everyone for joining.